Chairman Whitehouse, City Manager Jurgens, City Manager Reese. Here. Thank you.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would remind us of the mission statement for Connect Transit. Connect Transit provides safe, reliable transportation and access to opportunity to strengthen and enrich individual lives, our community, the economy, and the environment. Clerk, do we have any public comments?
No, ma'am.
If we have no public comments, I am going to move on to the consent agenda. I need a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Motion made by Trustee Buchanan, seconded by Trustee Foster. Comments from David.
Thank you, Vice Chair Kyle. Just a few comments. You'll see the statistical report. This only reflects 1 month, so there isn't really any trending that we can look at. I did look at the difference between fixed route ridership from last year to this year. Some slight gains, but again, not knowing why these things happened or being comparing to month to month, we can't really assert any sort of ongoing gains. Generally, though, the month was a little better than the same month last year. When we look at the Cardinal report, I'm going to be reporting on a lot of the financial issues later on as an informational report. But I would like to say that we do have a new FTA administrator. Mark Molinaro is our FTA administrator. And from what I've heard from him so far, he is very positive towards smaller systems, towards accessibility. He himself has a disabled child and feels very strongly about the ADA community, making sure that we are providing the level of access that everyone deserves. So it's great to hear that, especially given the board's leadership in trying to make the community as accessible as possible. You'll find next to your place an updated Cornerstone report. They sent us a report on Friday and then updated it on Sunday or Saturday. Late Friday night. So the updated report really is similar to what the other report was, but speaks a little bit about what's happening with our $3 million of funding. That those dollars were allocated to us in 2018. They made it to the budget this year, and now we're trying to get them released in the budget. So
I think, are they putting that on the veto session agenda? Is that?
it's already in the budget, so it's just a matter of allowing us to spend that.
It's the one motion during veto, or we don't have to, we're just gonna work with the governor's office or?
Correct, that's a 3 million capital. In the veto session, they're looking at the operational change for the RTA area and downstate transit. So that would be the operations funding that they're considering in veto session. We're really not sure if it's gonna make it into veto session.
And I saw that the e-mirror, wasn't that an initiative that we were advancing?
It is, yeah.
It's on the veto session.
They're looking for a shell bill right now that they can attach it to.
Do we know why it didn't make it during the spring? Is it the subject matter or just the political environment?
It was a political environment. So what happened was we recommended this legislation after all the other bills were submitted. So they attached it to a shell bill, and that shell bill turned out to be more controversial than we anticipated. So that shell bill didn't pass, so therefore our legislation.
So we're looking for a weak shell bill.
We're looking for a
non-controversial.
That doesn't go on.
Yeah, and if one is not found.
No parties to do it.
Yeah, yeah. If one is not found, we'll be submitting it as its own legislation at the beginning of the year.
All right, good, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. But I will be talking about the other, the state funding as well later on.
Right.
We don't have financials again. We're still collecting June bills, so once we have those, we should have those in August. we'll be reporting on them then. And that concludes my report.
All right, trustees, any further questions for David? Trustee Sanders? Trustee Buchanan? Trustee Foster? Having none, we have a motion on the floor to approve the consent agenda. Clerk, call the roll.
Trustee Buchanan,
Yes.
Secretary Foster,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hyle,
Yes.
and Trustee Sanders.
Yes.
Thank you.
Now we have new business items. I need a motion to approve Brady Lang, Deputy Managing Director, be added as an additional authorized signatory for all Connect Transit bank accounts.
So move.
Trustee Buchanan moves, seconded by Trustee Foster.
Yes.
Questions or comments? Yes, Patrick. Sorry.
No problem. Connect Transit must have 2 signatures on each check that is written. Currently, we have David Brown, Dave White, and Steve Stockton as our check signers. We recommend having 4 check signers just in case people go on vacation or out of the office. So we're just asking you to approve to have Brady Lang as a additional check signer.
All right. Trustee Foster.
There's a question. It's still just required 2 signatures.
Yes.
It was
Mhm.
4 eligible.
Yeah, 4
Okay.
people that are able to.
Okay.
Yes.
Others? Questions for Patrick? All right. We have a motion on the floor that Brady Lang, Deputy Managing Director, be added as an authorized signatory for all Connect Transit bank accounts. Clerk, call the roll.
Trustee Buchanan,
Yes.
Secretary Foster,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hyle,
Yes.
Trustee Sanders.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next, we have an informational item, regular committee meetings and upcoming topics. David?
Thank you, Vice Chair Hyle. This actually aligns with our strategic plan about creating committees. And as you know, last year we created committees and they were ad hoc committees. So we really engaged the committee when we had issues to talk about. What I'd like to do is start having a regular cadence of committee meetings once a month, or as the committee chooses, if they'd rather do once every other month, once we get into some of these issues. I think that by having that, not only will I get a richer input into what I'm proposing to the board, but also we can head off some questions and things like that before they come to the board level and really allow us to develop this in a collaborative effort. So you can see in the discussion who all the committees are. But also what types of things that we're dealing with. So in July through September, our first quarter of our fiscal year, we'll be talking about Connect Go service coordination between Fixed Route and Connect Go, the transfer fare policy in Connect Go, fare policy considerations for the new fare system. And that'll probably be rolling out in the spring. So we need to start talking now about how we're going to address that, how we're going to roll it out. And then the collective bargaining agreement, we'll hope to have that done this quarter. In October through December, Q2, the transit center will be really front and center during that quarter. We'll have our 30% design probably by October or November. And then we're going to have to start determining how we can fund the building of that, or redesigning just parts of it, skimming it back to meet the dollars that we have available to us. So I think that both of those issues will go to the finance and executive committee. Transit center design and aesthetics, as you know, messaging and marketing is a lot of how we promote ourselves, how we show our services. So that'll go to the marketing committee, as well as the operations and planning committee, because the flow of the buses, the flow of the passengers, all of that has to do with operations. The budget will be we'll start it in Q2, and then the radio system will be in Q2, a new radio system. Q3, we will continue the budget and it'll actually be passed, hopefully, or discussed in Q3. And then we have a lot of other things that you can see there. The transit center will likely start moving forward with the construction contractor that we'll have to talk about. The progress information website that we hope to give to the public about that transit center and how it's gonna impact the roads around it. The downtown transit center groundbreaking ceremony, that's gonna be a big event for us, and we hope to plan that in Q3. We added a Connect Transit zone, I'm sorry, Connect Flex zone in the budget. We pushed that back to Q4 of next year, or yeah, of this fiscal year. So we'll talk about where that zone should be and how that zone could be the most impactful and efficient that it can. We're looking at some state funding initiatives, as we just discussed, some federal reauthorization considerations. New Connect Flex vehicles, which will be electric vehicles, so that'll be a little different for us again, a smaller electric vehicle. So all of these things can be discussed in the committees as we move forward, just how we plan to introduce them to the public, what challenges we have, and just really let the board be more engaged. Not to make decisions for the operations, but understand what we're doing on a day-to-day basis.
This is good. Thank you. Helpful.
And then I can also read Q4, but read it as well. So I'll let you read Q4. But again, we have a lot of things going on that we initiated over the last couple of years that are now starting to land. So having the board engaged, I think would be very positive for us. This is informational. Again, the board committees were decided earlier. So now it's just a matter of having a regular cadence. I know that we have the operations and planning scheduled as well as the marketing and communications. So I think we still need finance. But Manav said that he'll work with you and determine a good time.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
And that concludes that.
Do we have any questions or comments for David related to the regular committee meetings and upcoming topics?
Just thank you. It's a good piece of work. Thank you. Are you, doing any updates? You expecting reports?
Yeah, so once we have the meetings, we'll also do reports. So somebody will take minutes at the meetings. Meetings won't just be with me. You can see who is on it. Finance will have Pat, operations and planning will have Alex and some others. So we'll definitely have that available for you to report out.
Other comments from trustees? I would add that this structure represents a shift in board responsibilities, and we just need to be aware of that. The timing and schedule of these meetings will be really important, so we need to make good on these commitments, and I'm excited about it. I think we'll be a more informed and engaged board as a result. I appreciate the opportunity and the organization. Thank you. And now we have an additional informational item of year-end ridership analysis. David is going to give us an update.
I will. So thank you, Vice Chair Hile. As you can see, this also is strategically aligned, that we will be reporting and even adjusting services as necessary. But first I'll have Alex go through the report, show you how we did last year, and then what things that we might focus on next year. Alex?
Thank you. So one of Connect Transit's goals is to continually analyze ridership data and make changes as we deem necessary where ridership justifies it or where ridership is suffering. So for this report, we're going to go through ridership data for FY23, FY24, and FY25. So for the first graph, we have monthly ridership for all of our fixed routes. For FY25, you can see that the Red Road Express clearly sticks out being the #1 route in ridership by far. But it is also the route that has the biggest variety by the season, since it does not operate when the university is not operating. You can see some similar varieties in other normal routes, like the green and the red. The red specifically carries a lot of students from Uptown to Walmart, and you do see the ridership go down when students are not in session. Then the next slide, or sorry, it's a previous slide, actually, next slide on my end. We have route ridership changes from FY 24 to FY 25. Overall fixed route ridership went down by approximately 5%. And that 5% is really just carried by the bottom 4 to 5 routes. That's how really sizable decreases in ridership. We did go through some of those in past board meetings, specifically the purple and the blue.
Right.
This is why we brought back peak service for those two routes, because they have seen some of the biggest decreases in ridership. And there are decreases that cannot be explained by other factors. So for example, the Lime, being one of our highest ridership routes, has seen one of the biggest overall decreases in ridership. So one of the main sources of ridership for the Lime is Market Street and the Walmart in Bloomington. And that area is within the flex zone, so we believe there's some cannibalization of ridership going on there with the flex taking service away from the fixed route. But also there has been construction on Market Street for a while now, and that creates some unreliability for our service. It is not something that we can control. It just means that one day some stops will be available, some the next day they will not. So it does make sense that people will prefer to go to flex. So the purple and the green.
Move on from that. Also, the line was detoured off of College Avenue, so it would go down College and then Wiley. Because of the College Avenue closing, it was detouring down White Oak, was it?
Martin Luther King.
Oh, Martin Luther King,
Yeah.
and then Market. So we missed a lot of the businesses up in that area and then along Wiley as well. And I think it was an inconvenience, but it was enough of an inconvenience that some folks stopped riding until we get back on a regular route.
What's the time frame of that? You know, state construction, okay. Yeah.
I believe they told me by spring of next year.
Mhm.
But that is subject to change and
Winter.
weather related. So by percentage wise, by far the biggest decrease was seen in the Sapphire, and that is a route that we're looking to improve in the future. However, we did see some routes increase in ridership, and they are routes that we're really trying to market, especially with Mark being a new marketing manager. So the yellow and the green have seen sizable increases in ridership from last year, and those are two of the routes that we're really trying to push people to ride. And then you can also see the next slides, graphs for each individual route, and you can see how the ridership in FY 23, FY 24, and FY 25. The ones we're really paying attention to are the green route, the red route, the yellow, the purple, and the blue, as these are the ones that we're currently trying to market and add service to so that we can see some ridership increases. And also the Lime, now that construction is over on Market Street, we are hoping that we can get some of those riders back now that it's gonna be reliable service and that all stops are gonna be functioning. And then a few slides down, we have all, we have routes ranked by ridership excluding the Redwood Express. And as expected, the red, the green, and the lime are the top 3 routes. And again, we're hoping to bring the purple back up, since now we've added peak service, so we're just hoping that that's gonna make service more customer friendly with easier transfers and lower wait times. And then the next slide, we have routes ranked by efficiency. So that means boardings per revenue hour, how many people board the bus for every hour that it operates. The Aqua is number 1, which is kind of surprising even to me when I saw it. It has the most riders per revenue hour. Again, this excludes the Redwood Express just because the Redwood Express would be so much higher than every other fixed route. So the Aqua, the green, the yellow, and the pink are the top 4 routes. And an interesting thing about that is that these are the most simple routes structure-wise. All 4 of these routes are basically just straight lines. And they really just function as a way of people to get to transfer stations, like get to Uptown Station or downtown Bloomington and get on other routes. And that concludes our fixed route ridership. So next we have Connect Mobility. So ridership really went up from FY 23 to FY 24, but since FY 24, it has really just stabilized. So you can see FY 24 and FY 25 are pretty much the same ridership wise. we're also showing our CM applications. I believe about 85% of our applications are approved. And then also our efficiency. So again, boardings per revenue hour. It did go down a little bit from the peak of last year when it really just exploded from FY '23. And then the average person is on a Connect Mobility vehicle for approximately 25 minutes. So next we have Connect Flex, which only started in FY '24, so there really isn't any data for FY '23. So since its beginning in FY '24, it exploded in ridership. And then I believe we introduced fares in January of 2024, and that is when it went down and has since stabilized. Our efficiency for Flex is considerably higher than it is for Connect Mobility. And at the same time, our average distance traveled and the average trip duration are also significantly shorter. We have close to 2,000 people that have had at least one ride, and 132 riders have done 100 or more rides. That concludes all three of our services.
Yeah, trustee Foster, questions?
And it's in relations to the construction.
Mhm.
And we anticipate it's gonna be going on for some time, and that's indicative to what's going on in our community and other communities. How do we don't lose those passengers during this time? And what have we offered them in the place of the construction routes?
I mean, in the instance of Market Street, we did try to communicate when stops were out. If like a bus driver would let dispatch know or supervisor know that this stop is not currently in service. And we did try to post updates on our app, for example. But just because of how unexpected a lot of these changes are and how quickly they change, there wasn't much more we could do other than that. But in instances where there is construction, we do our best to do a detour that makes the most sense for our riders and for our operations department. So that would be avoiding the least amount of stops possible, and the detour that we're taking, providing a good alternative for the stops that are missed.
So we've got no drivers running to the same route as well. But what about notifications from the state, from the city,
Mhm.
as to what's coming up, so that we can be proactive
Mhm.
instead of having the drivers go out there and trying to figure out and navigate the change?
Mhm.
Are we at the table where these decisions have been made and schedules are being presented? Because somebody's getting it.
It really depends. It depends who is doing the construction. If it's a town or the city, we get emails letting us know that this road is gonna close. But in my experience, after that, after the construction company has taken over, it is a little more on the
Complex. Okay.
unexpected changes on a daily basis. And another example of how we try not to lose some of those riders is when the line detoured away from College. So College, between White Oak and Ribbon Motorway, we extended our flex zone to up to Wiley on College, so that those stops would still have some service, since it's not the line anymore that goes there.
Well, that's good.
So really just a combination of things that we try to do.
And I'm just curious, and I know we try to do the best we can, but we don't want people to think that we are in the construction business and we are, having these inconvenience that, I don't know, maybe we can say, sorry, these things are happening, these are the things that we're trying to do to deal with it.
Mhm.
Just so that people are aware that we understand, what is going on, but we are not the ones that are in control. But in the meantime, these are things that we're doing to try to mitigate some of those inconveniences.
Mhm. And we do try to do social media posts as well. For the line, we've changed some of our maps that are out in public, that's a line detour. So for long-term detours like that, we do try to communicate through the app, through social media, and through like events as well.
kind of offer them options then, right? If this is happening, here are some options.
Yeah.
I just know that we are important, integral in what happens for transportation,
Mhm.
you know.
Mhm.
People don't want to get up and find out that you have to reroute me in time wise. It does equal out to the time that we have promised.
Mhm.
And so I'm just curious, you know, as to our abilities to be at that table for that schedule ahead of time.
Yeah. Again, generally for the city and the town, we get emails that, like before construction starts.
Mhm.
So generally speaking, we do know when things are going to start. It's just after they have started, then we might have some issues. And again, it just completely depends on the type of project it is. But for Market Street, for example, with stops being there one day, but not there the next day, at least we had flex service there. So that's why I said I believe there is some cannibalization involved from the line to flex. And the stops being unreliable definitely help push people to that service.
Makes sense.
So we should hopefully see the line's ridership increase now that it's clear.
Doesn't
Other comments? Trustee Buchanan, trustee Sanders.
Thank you for your comments.
I mean, that the reliability factor is enormous.
Well,
And if people find alternative service, then we have to win them back again. So I'll be curious, I'd like to hear about, what is the messaging push for, bringing them back once the construction, which we have little control over, is complete. Can you speak to that, Alex?
I mean, I think it would be a marketing question than planning. But I think we can push to customers is just the fact that Fixstart is more reliable than an on-demand service like Flex. It is going to be there every 30 minutes, and now that the stops aren't there, are going to be there, like, that's not a risk anymore. I think that is something we could push. The Fixstart is going to be there. You don't have to order it beforehand. You don't have to worry, like, is Flex going to be too busy right now and I'm not gonna be able to find a trip, or my trip might take longer than the Fixstart would take. Because let's say you live along Market Street and you would like to go to Walmart, you could technically take Flex to do that, but the Flex might deviate away from Market Street to go pick up some other people that live in some random neighborhood.
Yeah.
Whereas the line would just take you straight to Walmart. There are no unexpected things with Fixstart for the most part.
Trustee Buchanan? Other comments? None being heard. Alex, thank you very much for this informational item as well. Bus routes, so very important. We have one more item of information. David?
Two.
Thank you.
That's fine. The next is a Connect Go update, and I'll have Brandon give you that update. Brandon is our rural service coordinator.
Good afternoon, everybody.
welcome.
Thank you. So, yeah, as you guys know, we launched the rural service July 1st and intentionally didn't market it just to make sure we had the resources to meet whatever demand was there. In these last few months, we've really just been relying on the data to try to paint a picture as to what is needed in these communities. That picture is coming together with a few graphs here. So going forward, we plan on getting out into these communities in order, well, beginning with the towns with the highest ridership and going kind of in descending order, just to gather more information from the passengers directly. The passenger pool right now is pretty small. It's under 30. I think it's like 27 people. all of which I have been in contact with and know now. But the plan is to get out into these communities to allow others to come ask questions, kind of more soft launch it going forward. So that's kind of on the agenda in the coming months. We'll do that at libraries, post offices, grocery stores, you name it. We're also actively discussing contract opportunities that benefit local care providers and the residents of McLean County. So that's an ongoing project as well. And then we're considering making a fair recommendation to the county board and trying to determine what exactly that fare should be. And then it says here, for each dollar in revenue collected in fares, we would be able to draw $1.86 in state reimbursement for a
That's
total revenue of $2.86.
so
So,
impressive.
yeah,
That's a good return on it.
yes, indeed. So yeah, that's kind of all in the pipeline. And then finally, we're also looking at how this service interacts with the urban service. So right now, we are allowing some riders to kind of use the rural service to get around town a little bit. But the long-term goal is going to be hopefully getting those who are able to navigate the urban system independently to do so. So we've been providing them like, educational resources, stuff like that, just so we don't have duplicate service going on in the area. Any questions on that?
Trustee Buchanan?
Yeah, just,
Yeah.
thank you, Brendan. I know that the data that we received from Showbus was probably not a really rich data, but do we have any idea the towns that are utilizing it the most? Were they the same towns that might have been using Showbus? I mean,
I don't know definitively. I would imagine. So I don't see why that demand would change just based on who's providing it, but I'm not.
yeah, I was curious, and I know that you went to the Rural Mayors Association. And are there towns up there for whom mayors really were very excited about this, that we should be exploring even more?
As a matter of fact, all of them were very excited to have the opportunity. But they also recognized that rolling it out, we were gonna have limited resources until we understood what we needed
Sure,
to do.
exactly.
So we'll be adding some hours of service, probably in late September or October, to allow us to kind of meet the demand as it continues to grow. What we found is the Showbus was operating throughout the county, but oftentimes just in certain corridors on certain days.
Right.
We rolled it out as an on-demand service similar to mobility to serve the entire county every day. So we're finding some trips that rather than coming into Bloomington, they're going from one town to another. I think I shared, there's a passenger that goes to, what is the Green Gables?
Oh, Green
For
Gables.
work.
Okay.
You know, and, you know, takes a service to get there, and I think his care attendant or family brings him home.
Yep.
So, you know, we're seeing a lot of different types of transportation, and a lot of excitement. As we go through and as we recognize what the issues are, we're just making minor modifications as well. So we had a 3-day limit. You couldn't book a trip more than 3 days out. The reason for doing that was because we find that mobility and some others, that the longer they can book out, the more likely it is that they cancel their ride or they're a no-show. So we're very cognizant of that. Well, we learned from the passengers that that's also impacting their ability to schedule a trip to get to work on a regular basis. So we pushed that out to 5 days now, and we'll continue to monitor that. If there's abuse, we have some other things, you know, that we can put in place, late cancellation penalties and things like that. But the penalties are really just, you know, a hard slap on the hand and stop doing that. An explanation of why it's important for them to show up for the trip.
This is good.
Yeah, so we continue to massage the service. I think by the time we get to October, we'll have a much better idea and allow us to be able to communicate that better to the community.
No, this is good. Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you.
Other comments? Trustee Foster, trustee Sanders?
I'm aware that you met with the mayor, because they represent the community. That they need,
are the mayor's responses leading toward improving the ridership? Or-
So we met with the mayors, I believe it was May, but just to let them know that we were going to the operating service, May or June. And they were very excited about that. They participated in allowing us to put our flyers in their bills and things like that, or newsletters to communicate with their constituents. We'll be rolling that back out in October, giving them an update. So we'll be speaking with the county board and hopefully the mayor's association at their next meeting. They only meet quarterly.
Good though.
Thank you. I've got a couple of questions.
Yeah,
One, you mentioned a couple of times, Brandon, that there are beginning to be some patterns of people relying on this service for transport to and from work, or when we're talking about 29 people, a trend is pretty hard to find, right? But do you expect that by October, there would be any talk of like a kind of fixed route dynamic here, or is that something that we can talk with mayors about? I mean, actually, this is county business now, right? So, but I'm just curious about whether you guys are thinking in those terms.
yeah, so we've definitely given it some thought. And I've met with people who have kind of my position in the adjacent counties. And right now, there is no definitive answer, but that is something that we've been brainstorming, should the demand be there for it, so.
Okay, great. And my second comment / question is I'd be very interested in your talking a little bit more about this healthcare appointment conversation that's underway. I find that really very exciting and interesting. And as a really compelling example of mixing Connect Go with our urban system. So can you just talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So the idea, David and I have been in contact with a few different healthcare providers, and essentially they would kind of tell us who they need to give rides to, things like that. We would try to provide the service and then bill them directly. Right now, it's kind of determining who needs it. And we also don't want, kind of the best practice is to not have contracted rides exceed 50% of the total rides. Then you're less, a public service and more a contract service. So we just want to make sure we can not do that, but also provide the rides that are needed. So right now, we're just talking with the providers, determining what their needs are and stuff like that.
And if I can add just a little bit, one of the major issues in healthcare is missed appointments, and that's a very expensive thing for them. So that's really what we've been talking about. They track how many appointments are missed because of a lack of transportation. So if we can help fill that gap, we think that not only will they be more profitable, but also we will be able to have that contract. And if enough of those passengers are riding, then create those fixed routes. So contracts tend to follow, fixed routes tend to follow contracts. If you're going along the corridor at a certain time every single day because of a contract, then you can establish a fixed route. So those are all things that I think by this time next year, the rural system will look a lot different than it does right now.
I'm so curious to see how the integration of the two systems is going to start to work. And I'm very eager for us to begin with the end in mind there. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Seems like
And for our final informational segment, David?
Thank you, Vice Chair Pyle. This is just a federal and state funding outlook. Things are, obviously in regular flex right now at the state and the federal level. So this is a fairly detailed memo. I'm not going to read it to you as much as to kind of go over some of the things that are very positive for us, and then some things that might lead to some concerns. So in the administration budget, public transit was received a bit of an increase in funding, the budget that they had submitted for consideration. The Senate's budget also increased transit funding, but the House's budget did not. The House's budget reduced it, mostly in those areas of new starts, rail, capital investment grants, larger projects than ours. So we believe, just based on everything we've spoken to our consultant about, is that our formula funding for operations from the feds will remain stable in fiscal year 26. In 27, there will be a reauthorization, and that's something that we'll talk about quite a bit over the next year, not only with our federal, or I'm sorry, our National Association, the American Public Transit Association, but also the Illinois Public Transit Association, to see how those changes will impact us. The administration now prefers the formula funding. Formula funding is regular, it's consistent, it's stable. We don't have to compete for it. So it's actually a good thing for them to allow us to build big, beautiful things. You know, that's what the administration has said a number of times. The formula funding on the face of it looks great. However, the capital funding where we tend to get our buses and things like that, that we would have to compete with the larger systems for that capital. So it's more incumbent on us to manage those finances if the formula funding goes up, so that we can buy capital. We never receive enough formula funding to buy several buses at a time. So we would have to put those dollars aside. And Pat's done a brilliant job doing that over the last few years, but we've always known that capital funding, the competitive grants were available, and those might be much more difficult. So that would be a concern about that shift. However, the formula funding would allow us to also increase the level of service, especially with state funds available as well. So kind of a combination of things that we'll have to weigh what's good for us. On the discretionary funding side, that is the discretionary funding side. What we really don't know is how the DOT will treat formula funds and discretionary grants. One of the considerations that we have a concern about is the administration's feeling about sanctuary cities and sanctuary states. So we know that the state of Illinois is a sanctuary state. We know that Chicago is a sanctuary city, and that may affect how federal funds flow. What we don't know is how those federal funds will be impacted, or how our federal funds will be impacted by that decision by the administration. So something that we are definitely keeping an eye on and keeping our legislators apprised of, so that they're aware of it, so that they can work at the state level to ensure that the dollars that we're receiving continue to come in. If there's a gap in service, we should be fine for a while. We're still drawing down some older money. But if it continues for an extended period of time, it can also be a challenge. So we'll have to, again, work with the board committee structure to determine our approach to that. And we would have recommendations when that time comes to understand the changes that we would have to make in service.
And both Cardinal and Cornerstone are really very, very aware of this.
Very aware of it, yes. The capital funding, the state downstate funding, that's something that we've been working through since last year. Our DOPE funding comes from the Downstate Public Transportation Fund, and that fund is underfunded. So what that means is that the allocation that we receive for state funds, for all of downstate, is higher than what that fund actually has in it from year to year. That fund is funded by 80% of 3/32 of the state sales tax. So that state sales tax goes in, great formula. That state sales tax goes into the general fund. That general fund then funds the portion at that level. So what we're working on is two things. First, the stability of that fund. trying to get the state to increase that to 4/32 of the state sales tax. And I believe that's 0.1. It's not very much at all. It's not even a penny, right? Something like this. But what that does is that it adds stability to that fund so that the allocations that we're receiving will then match, what that fund can disperse. The second thing that we're trying to do is because of the changes in population, a lot of the smaller downstate urban areas or even the smaller rural areas, the population has shifted. So we know that people are moving out of Illinois or moving within Illinois. Our population is growing, so our need is growing. In other areas, that population is being depleted. Most transit systems have a property tax that funds them. So when the population shifts or when the population leaves, that property tax funding goes down. They don't have the ability to increase that property tax. So what we've asked is that the state consider reducing the local match requirement. So reducing it from 35% right now to 25% in the urban areas and 20% in the rural areas. If all things were equal, if this happens and all things were equal, given the 26 budget that we have, we would be able to receive another 2 million from the state with the revenue sources that we have right now. If you look at $2 million, if you equate that to hours, that's about 10,000 hours of service. 10,000, oh, I'm sorry, 20,000 hours. What did I say? I actually have it written here. I just neglected to. Oh, it would equal over 18,000 hours. When you take a look at the hours of service, 18,000 hours, and equate that to one of our best routes, which is a green route. The green route runs 10,000 hours of service, 10,300. So having the ability to put 18,000 hours on the street, we could look at frequency again, we could look at expansion into areas that we're not serving now. So these are all things that are really game changers for us if we were able to do this. So we'll continue to push. We don't know if it'll go in veto session as Trustee Buchanan had asked. But if it doesn't, it'll definitely make the next session. Veto session is a challenge only because they need a supermajority to vote. And I'm not sure that they would have a supermajority of the vote for this particular issue right now in Illinois. Having a 50% vote would be a lot easier to do. So we'll see how it moves forward, but we will we'll keep you apprised of that. Statewide, state capital funding is few and far between. We just applied for a state grant of $5 million for the transit center. It was a grant specifically for underfunded projects. So since we were awarded the dollars in 2020, the cost of materials and the cost of labor has gone up significantly. So we put in for that delta. We also put in a federal grant for that same amount. So hopefully one of those will come through. And finally, we have a federal earmark that was recommended by Senator Durbin and has made it to the budget process, but we'll see if it actually makes it through the budget process. And we'll know hopefully by the end of the year on all three of these. So by the time we're ready to start putting it out to construction, we should also know about the additional funding we have and what other resources we might need. There is one more grant that the state says might be coming out in the next few months. That's another call for projects for fiscal year 26. That tends to be vehicle projects or repair projects. So if we had repairs to this facility, if we had vehicle needs, we would put that out through another state grant. And that concludes my report. Sorry for butchering some of the numbers, but there's a lot of things going on. It's in flux, but we are stable for now. We just need to keep our eye on the ball.
Stay on top.
Comments, questions from trustees?
Not a lot to take in.
But you've got your eye on it. Are you having conversations for them? Either our Washington or our state legislators?
We do. So as a matter of fact, I wrote a letter today to meet with the legislators who represent McLean County. We've never had to deal with the McLean County the legislators before, because Representative Chung and Senator Kaler represent Bloomington and Normal. Having a conversation with the McLean County legislators, I think will be impactful in that they can see how this funding would benefit them. On the McLean County side, we could increase the hours of service. We could potentially put weekend service on the road. I mean, those are all potentials if this passes. If nothing else, we can stabilize that and allow us to grow with the local funds that we have. So those are all things that, all conversations that we're having.
It's about 3 or 4 more people.
Exactly, yeah. If nothing else, we hope that if they don't vote for the bill, that they won't actively work against
They've
it.
been getting on every yard, should be.
Exactly.
Yeah, we want to stay on the availability of funds for that project for sure. It's been a challenge. Thank you, David. We have no more comments or questions. So we can move on to committee reports. David, committees,
So we did not have any committees.
thing to share? All right, any questions from the floor, committee members? None, thank you. After the chairman's report.
And you're the acting chair.
I am. I want to, one more time, thank you for the invitation to the awards celebration Sunday before last. It was a pleasure to attend. And just a very pleasant evening and a good connection with everyone who attended. I greatly appreciated an unprogrammed opportunity to sit with people and get to know people, and just always gratified by the stories that we hear of operators and other Connect Transit families who are excited to be a part of the Connect Transit organization and who really, really like their jobs. So greatly appreciated that and appreciate the opportunity. I think that's it for me for this evening. Others?
I want to echo what you just said as well. In addition to that, you just never know what you have in-house sometimes, and to know what you have DJ.
Yeah.
Right, he did a great job. He did a great job, and having the location changed. It was. I mean, it's good to be everywhere.
Yeah.
Somewhere in Bloomington, represent Bloomington. But having out there my automata, I'm like ice cream. So thank you for that, and just, yeah, being able to meet so many people, was had that conversation of, people can feel free to talk. So appreciate that, appreciate your comments. Doing it, you best, and, Janet, you just everywhere, you just, she plays a part in all of that, so thank you so much for your leadership, and for the program, it was really nice, you stayed on target, you stayed on time, and the food was great,
Yeah, Baxter's doing a very nice job.
the fellowship was awesome.
Yeah, I would just say, same thing, that banquet was not what I thought it was gonna be. It was actually super cool, got to meet some great folks, got to see, the fact that Connect Transit does care about the folks that work for them, I've worked for many a business that wouldn't even do 1/10 of what was done there, and they really, really appreciate, that. And I ran into one of the drivers who was mentioned in the program of the different awards and he knew nothing about it. And it was just the smile on his face, he could not contain. He did say that he absolutely loved what he does. So that goes to show that the company was taking care of him. And he really gave that back to the community, which is absolutely great. And seeing Janet's 2 weekends in a row being out and about. So it's just great to seeing, you folks out there. So thank you so much for that.
And trustee Buchanan, any comments?
I'm sorry, I couldn't look at you.
Yeah. It was
It was a good time.
I would just tag on to that too, 92 awards. That is amazing. And certainly a sign of performance excellence, so.
Take care of them, they take care of you.
Yes,
Sends a strong message.
It does.
I would agree.
I hope that I could be a driver because I wouldn't have that good record like that.
Conversation. Okay, trustee Foster. And this brings us to the managing director's report.
Thank you. First, I want to congratulate Jeff Mansell. Jeff Mansell is our service delivery manager. We separated our operations, I think I mentioned a while ago, into two different functions. One is transportation operations and one is service delivery. Service delivery is over dispatch, our CSRs, scheduling to a large degree, and analytics. Jeff has been a supervisor for us for quite some time. He understands the position. He understands what is needed, and he just knocked it out of the park during his interview. It was clear that Jeff has a passion for what he does and a passion for making Connect Transit better. So we're really pleased to have him working in this position and continuing on board with us. So thank you.
You take a bow.
Thank you. The outreach that you just mentioned, you can see all the things that we continue to do in the community, as well as for our employees. We really try to do a regular celebration for the employees every quarter or so. But also just out in the community, you can see the type of things that we were doing. Mark has energy that I've never seen before. So he has gone to so many back to school things, presentations, trying to get the college age students to understand that we have a strong public transportation system that they can take throughout the community and not just on campus. And many people are congratulating us for the efforts that we're making, reaching out to them.
I know that when Mark first started that, he was surprised to discover how few students were aware of the opportunities. Is he still?
Not so much anymore. Seems like more and more people are lining up to learn about transit. Like the Fear the Bird festival that they had, the RAs, he gave them a lot of information that they could share with the students that are living on their floors. Really providing a level of information education so that they can then share our message as well. So Mark's grassroots efforts are really, to me, paying off. And you can even see that on the green, the yellow, and the pink.
Right.
How that ridership has increased over the last few months. In professional development, we continue to try to develop our staff. Jeff was able to go to a small urban network conference, his first conference as a senior manager. But something that really focused on systems our size versus APTA, which is, all the large systems across the United States. Ashley, our procurement manager, continues to learn about procurement. Procurement 3 is third in the line of deep dives into the requirements of the feds in procurement. And she successfully passed that. And then Angela Pearl completed her ADA coordinator training certification program. And that's huge for her position as a Medicaid billing specialist. She's able to work with the folks and get them to understand the process, work with them to get through our kind of complex eligibility process. And she worked very hard to get that certification. So we congratulate her as well.
do we have any indication, or is she hearing anything about what some of the decisions in Washington may mean for our ability to get the kind of reimbursement from public aid that we've been used to getting?
Not yet on the transportation side. A lot of our transportation funding comes from Medicaid, as you know, or that. We did expand that into the rural area now, so people who are receiving Medicaid in the rural areas can also use Connect Go, and we could be reimbursed for that transportation. Likely more once we start charging a fare. Right now, we're not charging a fare, so it doesn't matter to them if they get reimbursed for it or not. But we have not heard yet. We are, again, working with the East Central Illinois Agency on Aging, to, to work through,
I work with them as well.
yeah, to work through the impacts on them and
Oh,
then
yeah.
therefore the impacts on us as well. Strategic plan next steps. I know that we met quite some time ago now. We're still trying to work out the day and time the consultant is available, and then we'll share that with the board. See when we can meet again to go through the rest of our strategic plan update, and then talk about what other things that we might need to focus on for the next few years. I've compiled a list of current projects, and that list is very similar to actually what you just saw here with committee reports. But that'll just provide some context as to things that we've been working on for several years that are now coming to fruition, and how we can carry those efforts forward, or when they're done, we can look at other opportunities. And then also, I'll continue to report weekly and quarterly on the progress, on the strategic goals that we do have and the actions that we are taking. We're always recruiting. We always have positions open, but we continually fill them as well. And that concludes my report.
Yeah, we're done with that. Trustee Conley, which does I'm a rookie.
David, is there any, update for us on the transit center, the downtown project?
Sure. So we have been exchanging sales agreements. So the sales agreement to purchase the actual property downtown is in the hands of our attorneys right now. They've been working out some finer details, but it's very similar to what I had expressed to you in the past. As far as the city giving us a combination of land and dollars to help us design that in exchange for some parking, and then they would also manage that parking and maintain the revenue. We're working on some parking spots that we can maintain. So not only for board meetings, but for other staff and other events downtown. Moving forward, though, we have re-engaged our architect and engineer at CDM Smith. They're doing a deeper dive into the design. We did not have to throw away all of the design before. A lot of the soil testing and things like that was still applicable to this newer design. And then as we move forward with putting some fine details on that, I'll share that with the board on more monthly basis.
And will there be some ability for us to have input, or is that a decision we're involved in, or?
Yeah, so the aesthetics, the layout, the functioning of the transit center itself for passengers and for buses, those are all things that I hope to bring to committees.
And now the fact that they're closing the downtown garage.
Right.
I know that we had mentioned at one time that while we were constructing, we would provide shuttles for people who had parked there. Is there any request on the part of the city now that they're closing that we assist in getting people from those outlying parking spots to the downtown corridor?
I've made the offer again, but it has not been accepted yet. So.
Okay. Thank you.
And any update on timeline?
Again, we're in design. We hope to have 30% design, which is kind of what it will look like by October, November. We hope to put it out to bid at the beginning of next year for construction. And then we hope to break ground in spring. So that's the timeline as we understand it right now.
So we'll have September and October board meetings, hopefully we'll have more information.
Right, and because the facility is a lot less complex, we think that the timeline for construction will be a lot less. So we were thinking 14 to 18 months before. Now we're thinking 12 to 14 with the right contractor.
And when you say less complex, is it too soon to sort of spell it out for us, or will we see it later?
Oh, in the past, we had the transit center on the Market Street level. We had a lot of excavation. We had 2 stories of deck above it. So all of that needed to be supported by columns and things like that underneath the transit center. There was a lot of engineering in the last one. This one, the transit center portion will be at the Monroe Street level. That's mostly on ground. So only about 2/3 of that block has been excavated for parking. So we'll try to build as much as we can on solid earth. And then what's happening above the parking, which will be at the Market Street level, will be a lot less complex. Where those piers go will easily be designated by where the parking is located. So right now, we're assuming between 90 and 96 spots can fit on that first level for parking. But again, that'll all depend on design, where those columns go and things like that. So that's kind of the final details of what the CDM Smith will be doing in the next few months.
And of course, we had talked early on about, preserving some of the historic character because of what's going on downtown. Is that because we aren't doing as much excavation, et cetera, are we going to be able to maintain some of those aesthetic features?
To the extent that we can, yes. So a lot of that will be determined by our funding. Some of the aesthetic might be impacted, like it might not be brick exterior, but it might be some sort of molded something or other that will fit into downtown. Yeah, will fit into downtown, but might not have all of the features, the arched windows and things like that. If we're able to get the funding and we're able to make those decisions, we will put the best facility that we possibly can on that site.
Thank you.
Are there any more questions or comments? Thank you, trustees. I believe we have no executive session this month, so I need a motion and a second to adjourn today's meeting. Moved by trustee Foster, seconded by trustee Buchanan. Well,
This is supposed to begin.
we have a motion on the floor to adjourn the meeting. Clerk, call the roll.
Trustee Buchanan,
Yes.
Trustee Secretary Foster,
Yes.
Vice Chair Heil,
Yes.
and sorry, Trustee Sanders.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
What did I do?
Thank you.
Slide her some water so she can get through this.
We stand adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Great job, yeah, congratulations.